What's up, DC20 community? I want to stop and make this little rant video about damage reduction and its role in DC20 and kind of realign some people's expectations of what the role of damage reduction in DC20 is, why I believe that it's working as intended, why I'm also going to be watching it to see if we need to make some changes like we already have made some changes in 0.9.5. But I'm getting ahead of myself. In general, I'm talking about how damage reduction has been a part of the game since the beginning. The role of damage reduction compared to damage resistance is what I want to talk about. And then we'll get into the changes and the future potential. So damage resistance, right? Damage resistance is a reduction of damage that happens all the time, right? Damage reduction is a reduction of damage that happens only on hits, not heavy hits or higher. It is bypassable. That is the biggest thing of why it's in the game. That is the only defining factor. So for simplicity purposes, we will talk about fire. We'll talk about fire resistance, right? Fire resistance and fire reduction, just to be very, very specific on how this works. So fire damage resistance would reduce all fire damage you take by half. So fire resistance half reduces fire damage you take by half. Very simple and clean cut. But if there was something specific, in general in the game, there's PDR, which is physical damage reduction, EDR, elemental damage reduction, MDR, mystical damage reduction. There's nothing so specific, but there could be about fire damage reduction. For the sake of this conversation, we're going to talk about that just to keep it to fire, right? Because I think it's very simple to use examples like this. So if there's fire damage reduction, that would reduce the damage you take from fire by half. Wait a second, that's the same thing as resistance. Why aren't they just the same? The difference is damage reduction is bypassable by heavy hits and higher. And that's where people start to get a little bit like, wait a second, well, it just feels bad whenever it's bypassed. Here's my big old timeout right here. And this is, forget about fire and forget about whatever version of the game we're in. Damage reduction, I need it to be bypassable. If you remember back in a video, if you've been here for a long time, I did a video with Mr. Rex. The video is Alkenner's Almanac of all things had an armor system. Where's my hand? There we go. Alkenner's Almanac of all things had a damage reduction system where if you hit really hard, you could bypass the armor. That aspect is what I'm going for. And since the beginning when making DC20, it was one of the design goals, one of the pillars of the actual game of, all right, I want to be able to have, when you get hit, of course, you get hit or you miss and every roll matters and stuff. But I want armor. I want there to be a section, a mechanic to armor that is bypassable where, yeah, you got this big beefy armor, but they hit you, but they got slip the dagger between the blades. You got hit so hard that your metal armor caved in and it crumpled into your chest, right? You got burned and it got in your face plate and it hit you in the face. Whatever you want to say, your armor did not matter. That did not matter. You got hit so hard that it rocked you and you took the damage. I need that in DC20. I think that is the part of what its role is. I want there to be something that is bypassable. And the other part that I think this might make sense from some of the people that are like, oh, well, I want it to be, it feels bad when it's resisted. Damage resistance is what that role is in the game. Damage resistance isn't bypassable. That it's just straight up the thing, right? Fire resistance, you're gonna have fire damage always. But if there was something like fire damage reduction, it would only reduce the fire damage from hits. And if you took too much fire damage, you're overwhelmed with fire damage, you would take the full fire damage. And yes, it would be bypassable, right? I think that is an important fashion of the game so that it shows that window of if I get missed, I get missed. If I get hit, I still take half damage. And if it bypasses that, I take normal damage just like I normally would, right? You're not taking extra damage from having it. It's just reducing it if you get hit, but it's bypassed if not. That aspect of the game, I like that. I like being able to put that on big scaly monsters. I like being able to put that on heavy armor. It has its role in the game. Second aspect here in this damage reduction rant is it needs to be weak. I like that it's weak, and some complaints of that. It's not that strong. It's good from a game. I'm going to put my game designer hat on right now. I love that. And you might not realize how much you might love that because it's so weak, I can give it out more frequently. If it was stronger, I couldn't give it out as easily from a game balance standpoint, right? If it wasn't bypassable, I would have to be like, okay, heavy armor is just way too strong now. I can't give it to this class. I can't give it to this class feature. I can't put it on this armor. I couldn't really put it in a lot of places that it currently exists right now because it would just be too strong, because it would just be always, but it would just always happen, which is a lot, right? So the fact that it's bypassable nerfs it compared to damage resistance. And that's a good thing, because now I have a smaller lever, a smaller knob to be able to balance out the chemistry experiment that is game design, right? And if I want to give somebody, imagine, let's say hypothetically, I've made a class feature and it needs to be, my hand's at the top and bottom of the screen, it needs to be this strong. And right now it's this strong. Oh man, okay, well, what can I do there? If we only had damage resistance, there's no way I could give it damage resistance because that would break the scale. But if I have this little bit of extra space that I have and I want to give it something tanky, you know what? Let's give it elemental damage resistance. Yeah, bloop, and it fills that up. It's not broken because it's bypassable. And there you go, solves the problem. So I love damage from a game design standpoint, trying to make a healthy game. I love damage reduction for that reason. And to get into some of these 0.9.5 changes, damage reduction has already received more love than I thought it would already at this process. We reworked the armor system. It Livestream 31. If you check out the main channel and go to Livestream 31, I do a full discussion of all of that. Show the screen, show the video. I might even have a video at some point soon on the channel. But what damage reduction now does, it used to be damage reduction 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it would subtract off that much damage. Now damage reduction is just damage reduction half. So if you have damage reduction for physical, elemental, mystical, whatever, if you have damage reduction, it halves the damage. So now you either get missed, like I said earlier, you get hit and take half damage, or it gets bypassed and you take normal damage. So 0%, 50%, or 100%. I mean, it's right there, and I love where it's at right now. And it's technically a buff to PDR, EDR. All the damage reductions have technically been buffed in that way. So that's awesome. And then that is a 0.9.5 change. You'll see that more happen later. And now to look at the future of this whole thing, if we have made the game, we're everybody's level 10 now. We keep pushing the game forward, and we're in that last phase of development. We're not finalizing things yet. We're not printing the books yet. We're not doing anything. Absolutely, DR and its role in the game is absolutely going to be monitored, watched, checked. We're going to be asking, should it be in the game or not? What would happen if it isn't in the game? And there's also a very easy lever. You could add this to your games right now if you really wanted to, if you and your players really feel like damage reduction needs to be bigger or something like that. The smallest change and the simplest change would be like, damage reduction doesn't get bypassed unless it's a brutal hit or higher. There you go. You've just absolutely buffed the thing in a nice way that's not busted. And it's sure, there you go. It's now much stronger. Keep in mind, it's harder to get a brutal than a heavy hit, right? But if you wanted to change it being bypassed by heavy to bypassed by brutal, absolutely can do that, right? And that might be the solution that happens, down the road. But I don't want to pull that lever yet, because I like the fact that it's weak for those reasons I said earlier. And it's technically gotten even stronger just now. So I love even more so the spot where it's at right now. But I do get this question a lot in live stream, so I did want to make this little video here. I also think this is a good point of this channel, that I can just make these little offshoot videos about DC20 for the super hardcore DC20 people out there. Freaking love you guys. Thank you all so much. And I can make little side offshoot videos to talk about things that the community wants to hear and talk about. So awesome, cool. Leave a comment on this video if there's another category that you want to hear a rant about or something. And if somebody already has that comment, like their video, I'll look for the comment with the most likes or something, and maybe make a little rant video like this. So anyway, stay creative. Thanks to the box, y'all.